Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last in our New Mexico Main Street Spring 2016 webinar series. Kind of funny that the last webinar is actually just after summer has started. My name is Anna Bly, and I'm the Communications and Media Specialist here at New Mexico Main Street. Today's webinar is an overview of the new Main Street America brand, and as that relates to accredited and affiliate Main Street programs. We're going to do some housekeeping items. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the GoTo webinar interface. We have approximately 40 minutes for presentation today. Most listeners are in audio mode by default. This is to prevent some feedback issues that can be experienced. Also notice that when you log in, you do have an option to connect through telephone to audio or through mic and speakers through your computer. And again, it's making sure that you have that software on your machine that allows you to do that. There's also a control panel as evidenced with kind of the orange box with the arrow there that sort of lets you enable your control panel. As I mentioned before, you would access either, again, listening through your computer or dialing into the number provided and access code that would have gone out in your registration email. We'll also have about 20 minutes for questions and answers at the end of the session. There is a question box that you could type into, but I think as we evolve in our webinars, we may try the functionality to answer questions through raised hands. So you'll notice that hand icon in your control panel. You might have to press that to indicate that you have a question. The only thing that can limit that sometimes is if for some reason you are on mute, we may not be able to hear you, but I will have the ability here to unmute you hopefully and share your question with the rest of the group. If that functionality for some reason isn't working, we will do questions through the regular questions box as well. Today's webinar is focused on the Main Street America brand and how to use that as affiliate and accredited Main Street programs. But I did want to introduce the idea that New Mexico Main Street has worked really hard to address several levels of participation in the New Mexico Main Street network. So we're just going to kind of go over that briefly. Rich Williams, our director, did send out an earlier communication on this, but I'm just providing some brief descriptions to help outline what this participation means, what this network is, but I won't be outlining membership benefits in this presentation. The first point of access to New Mexico Main Street includes a New Mexico Main Street revitalization partner. Revitalization partners are focused on asset-based community economic development in a traditional or historic commercial area with a specific priority around creative economy work, cultural facilities, cultural corridors, revitalization planning, and or catalytic economic development projects. This includes state-authorized or municipally designated arts and cultural districts through the Arts and Cultural District Program, frontier communities, historic theaters, cultural and heritage corridor initiatives, and other programs that are designated to be served under the New Mexico Main Street umbrella. To be a revitalization partner, a membership depends on maintaining good standing requirements of this tier, as well as maintaining compliance. Another level in participation in the New Mexico Main Street network is the accelerator program. The accelerator program allows for new revitalization programs to be considered in the Main Street America program if they apply through a competitive application process. This is dependent, of course, on funding as well. The purpose of the accelerator process is to provide a pathway to Main Street America designation. Aspiring programs with a dedicated history of at least 6 months of attendance at our Main Street workshops, webinars, trainings, and network leadership meetings are eligible to apply to the accelerator process. This would include some frontier communities who've applied for and successfully completed 2 successive frontier community projects prior to applying to the Main Street Accelerator process. When a program is selected to receive accelerator program services, they take part in an intensive 18-month capacity building process, of which upon completion and meeting required accelerator benchmarks, the organization may be designated as a Main Street America or accredited program. Now these are the National Main Street Center certifications and tiers. Let's see. Yes. Thanks for hanging in there. So the National Main Street Center also has certifications, tiers, and recognitions used in determining program participation. For this webinar today, we include Main Street America affiliate programs as well as Main Street America accredited. But there are other tiers and recognitions as well, included Main Street America Premier Recognition, Main Street America Great American Main Street Award, and Main Street America Certified Manager Program. Many of our programs joining us today would be included as a Main Street America affiliate program in 2016. How we define affiliate programs is they've demonstrated a commitment to comprehensive Main Street district revitalization and have completed the Main Street Accelerator benchmarks, as mentioned when we talked about the process, and are building organizational capacity using economic transformation strategies that engage the 4-point approach to develop their goals and annual implementation plans. A Main Street America accredited program has demonstrated success in planning and implementing economic development or district transformation strategies that are in alignment with the Main Street 4-point approach. Accredited programs have fully engaged boards of directors, committees, or task groups that are working in all of the 4 points, and a full-time paid executive director. Accredited programs also establish rigorous outcome measurements and can show achievement under the 10 standards of performance established by the National Main Street Center. Again, many of you joining us today are going to be one of those 2 tiers. And what I hope to previously communicate was that we have levels of participation in New Mexico Main Street as well as the National Main Street Center tiers. But today's presentation is actually really focused on the context of your work in marketing and your program as a 2016 affiliate or accredited program, and what this connection to the Main Street America brand means and why it can be impactful. So again, as part of the refresh, this new branding is part of that opportunity to sort of establish and connect us to a larger collective movement. This new brand, Main Street America, the name, the logo, and messaging that accompanies it is an opportunity to raise the profile of our work and the collective larger movement. Main Street America, so identifying as a Main Street America community, is a benefit of membership and mark of distinction that can be used to communicate with local stakeholders as well as city, state, and national funders. Accredited and affiliate Main Street organizations can use the new 2016 logo provided. And again, just a clarification, Main Street America is a program of the National Main Street Center, a subsidiary of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Okay, so as organizations, as affiliate organizations and accredited Main Street sent in your sub-licensing agreements to us, we sent out in return appropriate logos and the Main Street America brand guidelines, along with your executed sublicensing agreement. So we're going to sort of touch on what these are again in a little more depth. So the names and logos, as specified in the sublicensing agreement, are trademarks of the National Main Street Center and may only be used with permission. That permission is granted through the sublicensing agreement. And proper usage is required through the licenses and sublicenses granted to the local program. We also ask that organizations use the appropriate logo and recommended membership languages across multiple platforms. So that can be an information that you're talking about your program on websites. You would be using the 2016 affiliate program logo or accredited program logo on your website. There's also some language recommendations. You might be using appropriate logo in print material that you're producing or other branding platforms that you're sort of getting the word out about your program. Here's an opportunity, again, to kind of tie in to that larger brand. For our purposes, there are 3 brand treatments based on different levels of membership. So the actual logos, you might have noticed at the beginning of my presentation, New Mexico Main Street actually uses the 2016 coordinating program. So we are the 2016 coordinating program, and so we use that logo. We have a 2016 accredited program logo that would have been sent out to accredited programs, and the 2016 affiliate program. And that appropriate logo would have been sent to affiliate programs. And here they are, just to sort of, so depending on your level of membership, like I said, New Mexico Main Street uses the coordinating program logo. But depending on your membership, you will have the appropriate logo for your program. And those, again, would have been sent out with your executed sublicensing agreement. As were the Main Street America brand guidelines, where they kind of really get into more depth and also, I think, try and create opportunities for you to kind of connect with their language. It can be really helpful. It can help tease out a more impactful story in a press release, or if you're presenting guidelines or highlights about your program, tying into that larger national brand and their messaging and language can just be that extra something. It can be a really exciting and unique opportunity, and I think they've done a really good job sort of teasing out some language for you. Certainly my presentation today is by no means a comprehensive review of the guidelines. I definitely suggest consulting them in more depth, but I do want to just sort of give you some highlights, the kind of major highlights from the guidelines. So Main Street America with their new logo, and I'll go back to the logo page. Wow, there we go. Never mind, sorry guys. All right, Main Street America has a new tagline that must be used with their logo, nationally recognized, locally powered. I think it's succinct, it's impactful. Whenever the Main Street America logo is used, the recommendation of using this tagline is needed. Also in the guidelines, they go into great depth talking about their descriptor statement. Now, the descriptor statement is kind of a higher umbrella as we get into more depth as the presentation goes. But the descriptor could be used in press releases, announcements, or other promotional materials. Maybe it would be on your website. However you determine this language might enliven or add quality to releases and information you're distributing. The descriptor from the broader sense states that Main Street America has been helping older and historic commercial districts for more than 35 years. Today it is a network of more than 1,600 neighborhoods and communities, rural and urban, who share both a commitment to place and to building stronger communities through preservation-based economic development. Main Street America is a program of the nonprofit National Main Street Center, a subsidiary of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. This descriptor can sort of help you on a higher level tie into that larger collective language. Again, these guidelines and descriptor and further language we're going to get into, I think gives you some tools for how you can talk about your work, the significant work you're doing, and that significant work is part of this larger community of more than 1,600 neighborhoods and communities. So you're not only doing significant work in your community, you're part of this bigger piece. Going a little deeper into how Main Street America describes the work, they created a positioning statement. The positioning statement has 3 parts, talking about the movement that is Main Street America. We're part of this larger thing, a national network that's doing incredible work around the country, a seal of distinction. This is a brand to be associated with that brings recognition for the work you're doing in your communities and ties it back to this larger community, and that it's a time-tested strategy. This has been proven over the long haul, the revitalization of communities across the country using the Main Street approach. We'll dig a little bit deeper into the language presented in the brand guidelines as it ties to movement, or Main Street America as a movement. It's a movement. Main Street America has been helping revitalize older and historic commercial districts for more than 35 years. It is a leading voice for preservation-based economic development and community revitalization across the country, made up of small towns, mid-sized communities, and urban commercial centers. Main Street America represents the broad diversity that makes this country so unique. Working together, the programs that make up Main Street America help breathe new life into places people call home. So again, they've created this tool, this language to describe the movement if you're so inclined to maybe use some of this language. The second part of the positioning statement is Main Street America as a mark of distinction. This is a seal. It recognizes that participating programs and communities are part of this national movement that has a track record of celebrating community character, preserving local history, and generating impressive economic returns. Since 1980, over 2,000 communities have been a part of Main Street, bringing renewed energy and activity to America's downtown and commercial districts, securing $61 billion in new investments, creating more than 525,000 net new jobs, and rehabilitating 251,000 buildings. So again, this is a seal. You're part of something. Not only are you doing significant work in your community, you're part of this larger piece that's been doing significant work throughout the country since at least 1980. The third part of the positioning statement is, let's see, Main Street America is a time-tested strategy. So this talks to the longevity and success of this. Main Street America communities are encouraged to make use of time-tested approach known as the Main Street approach. The Main Street approach is rooted in commitment to broad-based community engagement, a holistic understanding of the factors that impact the quality of life in a community, and strategic focus on the core principles of downtown and neighborhood revitalization, economic vitality, design, promotion, and organization. So this work we've been doing across the 4 points, it stood the test of time. Something that I like to kind of touch on, including, we'll go back to the descriptor. In the brand guidelines, and I actually have uploaded the brand guidelines as part of this webinar, so hopefully you're able to access those. We also, with your executed licensing agreements, did send out your executed licensing agreement copies of the appropriate logos as well as these brand guidelines. But again, I am happy to resend those out to you if you don't have copies on hand. But if you can, I would recommend downloading the brand guidelines today if you can. But like I said, you could contact us at any point to access this information. The brand guidelines, through both the descriptor and the positioning statement language as I've kind of touched on, Main Street America has thought this out really carefully and tried to create tools for you. But the idea is that you can actually parse out some of this language to fit what you're writing or promoting or the platform that you're using. Maybe a website can't have an entire positioning statement. Maybe a piece of the messaging would support what you're doing. So there are options to sort of use things in their entirety. So that would include this descriptor, all three parts of the positioning statement, and use them and parse them as you need to kind of fit your marketing needs. But again, I think they've done a nice job presenting it to you, but they do kind of give you those options. So just kind of know you don't have to use all of it in its entirety, but use it as it makes sense. But also use the tool. It's kind of a neat opportunity that's been created here. Here are some things that we did get recommendations for recommended language for websites that are Main Street America affiliate programs. We do have some boilerplate language. This was sent out in a summary sheet that was also included with the sub-licensing. But this language basically states, as a Main Street America affiliate, again, insert your program name there, is a part of a national network of more than 1,200 neighborhoods and communities who share both a commitment to creating high-quality places and to building stronger communities through preservation-based economic development. I would, if you really can, on your website include this language. I think it's great. I think again, it can be another part of telling your story and connecting with that larger network. So this is the boilerplate language for affiliate programs. And again, you can always contact New Mexico Main Street if you have questions about language to use on your website. Again, at the very lowest level, I would recommend using language on your website, using required logos, and then, like I said, using the brand guidelines to tease out more messaging that ties to the larger network. We also have, and I won't read this off, but you get the idea. There's boilerplate language for accredited programs. And like I said, the summary sheet that was sent out with the sub-licensing agreement should tell you which one you would use depending on if you're an accredited or affiliate program. And we are always happy at New Mexico Main Street to clarify that. And again, this is recommended language, but we hope it's a useful tool. Okay. The brand guidelines also kind of stipulate information around logo use. I'm probably not going into as much depth as them, but I am giving you the highlights. They do require clear, correct, consistent use. There is a requirement that the logo be used on a white background. So there's some editing around that, depending on your web page and your web design, that it definitely is in a white area, or if you're doing a brochure, that the section that logo appears in is a white background. We also ask that logos have enough space around them to be legible. So just clarity. I wouldn't make them tiny. Just things that use the logo so that it can be seen. I mean, it doesn't have to be giant, but also not so small that it becomes not legible. Just to keep it clear so that the impact's there, that seal of distinction is clear. When we sent out the sub-licensing agreements, we provided EPS files, JPEGs, and I think PNG files. So depending on application of the 2016 logos, we wanted, National Main Street Center did provide various formats to hopefully meet many of your marketing needs. You'll also notice, I won't touch on it in great depth, but the branding guidelines talk about a color scheme for each of the 4 points. And again, making sure that color palette and print and screen requirements, so if you're doing a print job or it's displaying on a website, that you're following those color palette and screen requirements as outlined in the guidelines. We also ask that you use only approved logo files. I'm sure that would be strange to just make up another logo. I'm sure it's easier to use the approved logo files, and these would have been obtained by New Mexico Main Street staff with the yearly renewal of your sublicensing agreement. So this year we got the 2016 sublicensing agreements, and we sent out 2016 logos. And you may notice in the page where the year is evident in the logo. So these logos will be used for this period. Let's see. And that's kind of the end of my general presentation on this. Let's try some question and answer and see what we can come up with. Yeah. I do have a question from Michael Bullock. Let's see. Are you there, Michael?
Yeah. I guess. Well, I was going to say, I guess we were having some, both Sean and I were having some issues with our email stuff going to junk mail.
Okay.
But I don't, we ever got our,
executed.
We did just download the usage guides, but I don't think we ever got the actual files for using the logo.
And you actually bring up a great question. I'm happy to kind of go back and see when that information would have been sent out, and it's really easy for us to resend it. If anybody finds themselves in that position, absolutely contact me, because I'll be the one to give you the appropriate logos for this year. And it is kind of rolling out slower probably this year than future years, as this was a big change with the sublicensing agreements and the use of logos. And I think these logos are just now through the end of the year to 2016. Does that answer that? I'm sorry if you haven't received that. And like I said, anybody else listening to us who find themselves in that position, definitely contact me and I will make sure you get that. Okay?
Yeah,
have we answered? Are you cool there?
Yeah, that answered my question. So.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Well, we've got another question. Let me just see. All right, Tabitha, are you there? Okay, got it. I think we have had another situation where a community may not have all the information they need. So as I've stated to everyone, if you find yourself in a position where for some reason you don't have your latest sublicensing agreement with New Mexico Main Street and the logos and the brand requirements, don't hesitate to contact me and I'll get that right out to you. We have it all here. But also I want to encourage everybody, if you're reading these branding guidelines, if you're writing press releases, if you're maybe working on sections of your website, and you're sort of unsure, like, how do I integrate some of this language, or how do I integrate these logos? One thing your sublicensing agreement does state is that you must use the logo. So the 2016 accredited logo or the 2016 affiliate logo, depending on which your program is, must feature on your website somewhere. So again, if there's questions about that kind of integration, I'm happy to sort of assist with that. Let's see. I don't believe that I am seeing additional questions, so if I have missed anybody's questions, don't hesitate to contact me after the webinar. We have recorded today's session, so we will make it available on YouTube, which again you could share with board members or people who work in marketing on your board, may be interested if they find themselves in the position where they've got to maybe implement using some of this language in PR, or if they're helping with your website, those kinds of things. And if you don't have questions, then I will conclude the webinar, and I thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today.